Wall Street Journal is going to tell us how to make sure our retirement money lasts. Let's see what they say here. I haven't read the article, but my man Richard from Missouri, the great state of Missouri, sent this to me. So let's see what it says. All right, so Dateline, I think it was today, today's Wall Street Journal, or April 9th, excuse me, from some guy named Neil Templin. Not sure who that is. Is that a new writer for the WSJ? I don't subscribe to WSJ anymore, but forget the conventional wisdom of drawing a fixed amount each year. Flexibility will increase the odds of not spending too little or too much. I cut myself out there. He's licking the blood off my calf out in the garden. Oh, hey, stop. It's tickling me. All right, so for retirees seeking to make a nest egg last, it might be time to rethink the conventional wisdom. The conventional wisdom is laid out in the so-called 4% rule. Calculate 4% of the value of your retirement accounts, and that initial amount plus inflation is how much you should withdraw each year. Oh boy. But while the 4% rule appeals for simplicity and tests using historical market data, it is a one-size-fits-all kind of solution. And some advisors say a lack of flexibility means that it tends to undershoot or overshoot. It tends to overshoot. Well, it tends to undershoot. It doesn't allow you to spend more. Well, I'm not sure which would that be. It tends to undershoot, that you're leaving a whole lot more at your death that you could have spent more or retired sooner. Some retirees using the 4% rule can quickly deplete their portfolios during years of weak markets, as those fixed dollar amount withdrawals represent bigger and bigger chunks of their diminished returns over portfolios. For others, the reverse can happen. Notice what he did not say, though, the 4% rule. He just said take 4% out plus inflation. This is the Wall Street Journal, my friends. He's not saying anything about the way your portfolio should be allocated, at least in the first two paragraphs. And we know for a fact that no one reads beyond the first two paragraphs. Currently, we are in an especially dangerous time for retirees living off fixed incomes because low interest rates are keeping bond income down. A better approach than a schedule of fixed withdrawals. I mean, just if you think about it, the 4% rule was never contingent on fixed income in terms of having nothing but bonds, i.e. fixed income investments. There's never contingent on having nothing but stocks. It's 60-40. This is what drives me up the wall. It's like, I got $1 million. I'll put in CDs. I can take 4% a year out. No, that's not what's contingent on. And I don't blame Bengen. I don't blame the Trinity people. I blame the financial industry because it's just silly how easy they make it. It's like, 4%. You can't retire. Keep working. Well, here we go. Suppose you start with $1 million in retirement accounts and you use the 4% rule. So you're withdrawing $40,000 a year. A bear market causes the value of your portfolio to drop by 25%. Now that 4% represents 5.3% of your portfolio. If the market takes several years to recover, your portfolio might have trouble bouncing back from such a big withdrawal. There are many variations on the theme of fixed distributions, but they all generally feature addressing withdrawals each year in line with current markets. Let's see. San Francisco advisor David Yeski uses rules based on research done by Jonathan Guyton and William Klinger in the Journal for Financial Planning back in the early 2000s when the JFP actually meant something. And then they went all social justice warriors and critical race theory, and they can kiss my big fat behind. The idea just is nuts. Mixing critical race and financial planning is just, it's evil, it's ugly, and yet to say anything, you're a racist for saying something. Yeah, well, you call me racist then, because that's just nuts. Because of the system's flexibility, Yeski says his clients who are retired are able to take 5 or even 6% withdrawals in good years. Oh boy. And by adjustments, he means some belt tightening will be necessary in years when the markets don't perform so well. When stocks crashed in late 2008 and early 2009, they didn't crash in late 2008. They crashed in October 2007 was beginning. Mr. Yeski, and I'm familiar with Dave Yeski, who's married or is married to a lady, Bowie, I think's her name, B-U-I-E, out in San Francisco. I remember Yeski, and I'm not here to bash the guy. I'll never forget, though, this is when I recognize the financial planning industry. They don't have a lot of unique thoughts, because I'll never forget when it was like 2010, and he had written something on LinkedIn about the Obama budget or Obamacare. I forgot what it was, and the CBO was saying this will lead. I forgot what it was. I said, because I respect the guy. He's been around writing in the business for a long time. I said, dude, the CBO? I mean, the CBO exists to make economists look good, and economists exist to make astrologers look good. I could not believe it. I could not believe he was so Like the CBO says, whatever this budget bill is, it's going to increase the, it's going to reduce the deficit, whatever it was, and that's going to be good for stocks. I was stunned. It was just the weirdest thing. Everyone has their picadillos, and if your side is in power, you trust the government. If my side's in power, I trust the government. The projections, I should say, by the CBO, unemployment rate assumptions, all that, and I even when Trump was in there, people start saying, "Look, with Trump's tax cuts," and I said, "Nah, I'm done with that, man. You can't trust any of these CBO numbers because they're all just look at their history." Anyway, CBO is a Congressional Budget Office, the grading people, the nonpartisan grading people. I'm telling you, man, the whole thing's corrupt. All right, let's see here. So remember, suppose a retiree with $1 million was withdrawn 5% in Yeske's system. If that portfolio fell to 833 or lower, he would lower the withdrawal 10% to 45,000. The bottom line is you can launch yourself on a high spending trajectory as long as you're prepared to make adjustments. I don't think 5% is a high spending trajectory. As much as no one wants to cut their spending 10% for the coming year, it nonetheless gives them a sense of control. And they understand that this is keeping a sustainable path. Is it? Just because it did doesn't mean it will. Investors don't need a financial advisor to set up a flexible system. The IRS, oh no. They can set up their own using RMDs published by the IRS. Yeah, exactly. RMDs, as opposed to a rigid system like the 4% rule, base a percentage on the current value of your assets. Yeah, I agree. While RMDs apply to tax-deferred accounts, you can apply the same principle to calculate safe withdrawal rates from all your accounts. I completely agree. Simply take your balance and divide it by the number in the table for your age. So if you're 72, the amount is 3.91%, and as you get older, it's for a 90-year-old is 8.77%. Yep. They're getting ready to introduce a new IRA table for RMD table for 2022 with slightly smaller withdrawal numbers. That's good. Denver area financial advisor Caleb Paddock has clients who live off a combination of Social Security and RMDs, but he helps them build a cash reserve to tap during a down market. Bill Bengen, whose 1994 research paper first proposed a 4% rule, agrees that preserving capital is the key. I think you have to go in with your eyes open as what might have to do as a sacrifice. Who believes his system of constant withdrawals is more practical? I completely agree. The idea of, this whole thing, and this is why I never got into Guyton stuff, is like the guardrail. They call it the guardrail. So no one does this in practicality. So, what do we say? So, okay, so from January 1st to January 1st, the portfolio was $1 million. Now it's down to 833. So we're going to reduce our spending by 10%. No one really, it just, when are you reducing your spending? On January 1st or reducing it? It's tough, man. And that's why I always say, people say, when should I take my money out? I said, just the beginning of the year. 1 January, you take 50,000 out, you dump your checking account, and then you wait until November, October. Do you need more? If you don't, then you leave it be. If you need more, you're going to have to take it out or not. I don't know. But you do it year by year, man. Year by year. So, okay, I'm going to take 50,000 out of this $1 million portfolio. I'm going to dump it in my checking account. I'm going to spend it down to whatever. And if it lasts until February, then I'll take it out then. But don't do it just do it when you run out of money. So when that $50,000 that you spend that you need for that year is gone, well, then you go and do it again, and then you go and do it again. And if it comes out that you're going, November, then October, then September in consecutive years, you're spending too much. There's no other way around that. If it comes in that you're going January, then February, then March before you take another distribution, you can spend more. There's just no two ways around that. So that's the way to do it, in my opinion. Keep it simple, stupid. Wade Pfau has run tests that support Bengen's earlier research, but he says someone retiring today and taking fixed inflation-adjusted withdrawals from a portfolio should use a 2.8% number instead of 4%. Again, fixed inflation adjustment portfolios, withdrawals. And that's always my critical thing. Who in the right mind takes fixed inflation adjustment withdrawals? Nobody, because no one does that. It's dumb. All right, so anyway, and I get what they're trying to do, saying, look, this is what you think you need, but simply there's no evidence to support that at all. Ooh, that's a different, I'm not, the best place to retire. Ooh, all right. What to do with a target date fund? The benefits of a scheduled retirement. What's it like to retire in Alaska? Let's see. Well, let me read it because I'm not a subscriber. Oh, all right. I have to look at that one too there. All right. Somehow I got the sneak peek on this, huh? All right. Let's see what some people say here. Insurance costs threaten Florida real estate boom. We've been saying that for years about homeowners insurance there, man. Makes sense to me. Why not base my spending on current returns just like when I was working? I base my spending on my income. Would the bigger spender be a 72-year-old or one who is 91? That's exactly going back to my reverse RMDs. I completely agree. So this guy's saying, look, the RMD rule is great, but you're spending less when you're 71 and more when you're 91 when you're freaking basically at death's door. All right. Anyone foolish enough to advise to draw a fixed percentage annually no matter what from a tax advantage account, and anyone ever foolish enough to follow such advice, all right? If you want to preserve retirement nest egg under Biden, keep working. When my wife and I are working, we have a simple rule: budget a third of our income for taxes, a third for savings, and a third for expenses. Wow. Easier said than done. Don't invest what you don't understand. Puts, calls, REITs, and other alternatives to stocks and bonds. All right. Rules as such, basic guidelines that are averages. Most people unwilling to watch and adjust conditions. 100%. Rules of thumb rely on historical averages. They assume that trends will continue to regress towards mean values. The problem that historical trends can be subverted by government intervention and Bolsheviks. All right, lots of different things. Polar vortexes, grand solar minimums, you name it. All right, so the 60-40 strategy for stocks versus bonds is gone. So too, any rule of thumb like 100% minus one age. Okay, whatever. All right, there you go, man. So good stuff. I'd like to hear your thoughts, man. And we'll look at what's like to retire. What's this one? The best places to retire. Where to start? Ooh, mountains. Oh my goodness, South Dakota. Look at those buffaloes or bison. Why do they got the fur right there and nothing there? That's the weirdest thing ever. All right. Love to hear your thoughts. We'll see you guys.